and welcome to our new segment, Uniquely A, with me, Yasmin, and Samara.
Hello.
We're all a bit nervous this time round because we haven't got Lavinia here to kind of save us, so this is going to be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we decided to create this new segment to kind of cover autism's representation in media, especially on online sites like Reddit, because it can be quite hard to be able to ask for help when you're not sure if you're behaving correctly in situations. And we thought, what better than for us to judge and see what we come up with? I think that's the best way to kind of explain it.
Yeah.
Right, so if we get into our first story, we've gone with relationships today because what better way, considering Samara is in a relationship and I am not, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to add to this, but there we go. Okay, so am I the idiot? My 34 male good friend, 27 male, is on the spectrum. I don't know if he knows I'm speaking about this will come across as offensive, but he's on the less severe side of things. He's verbal and can read social cues decently well. The only tells are his stims, where he rocks constantly if he's sitting still, and he has a few verbal stims, etc., and his aversion to a few sensory-related things. It's not something that he shares with a lot of people. He got diagnosed later in life since his parents just thought he was a weird kid while he was growing up. Him confiding in me about this didn't change anything between us, but some of the stories he's shared has broken my heart a little and made me feel more protective of him. Due to the AC going out in his apartment and not being able to be fixed for a few days, he came to stay with my wife and I. He can't sleep unless it's on silk sheets, so I ran out and I bought some the day he asked to sleep over. I wanted him to be as comfortable as possible. Sensory issues aren't a simple request, they're genuine needs. My wife was already a little annoyed by that and pointed out that I had not done that for any of our other guests. Then halfway through his second day with us, he pulled me aside and asked me to fix whatever that smell was that was going on in our house, and that it was hurting his head and really bothering him. After some investigation on our part, we figured out it was the perfume my wife was wearing. So I politely asked my wife if she would go and get changed or shower so that my friend could enjoy dinner with us. She not only refused, but she tried kicking my friend out for being high maintenance. I put an end to that very quickly. I realise that she's not clued in on his needs, but he is a guest in our home all the same. His diagnosis is his to share and his alone. I've refused to budge on any of the issues. According to an email he got, the AC in his building will be back up and running tomorrow. However, my wife has booked a hotel for the night and is insisting that one of them, either herself or my friend, go and stay there for the night. My friend is clearly distraught over this, and I can't just send him off on his own when he's clearly upset after all that happened. Okay, where do we start with this?
Okay, so I think a good starting point is that argument of whether you need to give people a warning that you are on the spectrum and that's why you're acting a bit differently, or the argument of everyone should just be accepting of you no matter what your behavior is and no matter what your label is.
Yeah, I also think if I had bed sheets that I specifically needed, I'd probably bring my own.
Yeah.
Because not only is that, I'm catering for my own kind of self, but also they're sheets that I'm already very familiar with, and that's a comfort factor. I think it is a bit rude of OP to be like, I'm going out to buy silk sheets because one person's coming over for a very small amount of time. Exactly, It is a bit over the top. I mean, you might as well just start making his own bed at that point. It's just...
Yeah.
I also find it a bit rude that OP said to his wife, can you go and have a shower or get changed because you smell so bad that my friend can't even be in the same room as you. I mean, this lady is in her own home. The poor woman.
Yeah.
The thing is, go on.
I was just gonna say it kind of makes you think as well with with the man in question who is on the spectrum. How did he kind of get through life before? Like, is this kind of like, since he's known that he has autism, is he now using that as much as he can?
That is a. And I think the thing is as well, I'm not sure if you can expect people to help you with your diagnosis if you aren't open about it.
Yeah,
Like, for
exactly.
example, I'm very aware that if I say, oh, sorry, I don't like this, people automatically assume I'm a fussy eater, and I hate that.
Yeah.
So I will say, I'm really sorry, those textures don't agree with me. I might not specify because I'm autistic, but I do try to give a kind of more legitimate reason as to why I'm coming across as difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, it is a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, really, considering that's his wife as well, surely there shouldn't be any big secrets like that. Surely he could have just give her a heads up, like, look, he is on the autistic spectrum, and
Yeah,
can you just be, a help, I guess, a little bit? Because like she isn't to know, so it's really unfair. If someone was just asking all these crazy things of me and I didn't know, I'd be like, no, why would I do that? Why is that person so high maintenance?
exactly. And I mean, the thing is as well, I get that he's saying he doesn't feel the right to explain his friend's diagnosis to other people.
This
But
is
when you're
wife.
bringing, yeah, but when you're bringing an outside person into your home environment that you share with another person, you've kind of got to give them the heads up. It's not
Yeah,
fair otherwise to just
yeah,
expect her to be like, oh, you know what, that's fine. That she's doing all these things to change. And then I
yeah,
think the bedsheet thing was a bit. You didn't have to go out and buy some new ones. You could have just said, "Hey, can you bring the ones from your house?" That's fine.
yeah,
It's the go shower and get changed thing that really. I'm surprised she's saying I've booked a hotel room and either me or your friend is going. I'd be going, I've booked a hotel room, you can both leave. Because I'd
yeah,
be like, at that point, that makes me feel horrible. And I'm supposed to be in my own house that makes me feel, protected and I feel safe in that environment. And just be told that, you smell essentially, but it's
yeah,
not a bad smell. It's just somebody doesn't like your perfume. I
yeah,
genuinely can't imagine that. So the original poster did add an edit that they bought sheets instead of asking him to bring them from home because I wanted them for future use. This would allow my guests to decide between normal bed sheets and the silk ones. We never know who around us has sensory issues or who might want some nice sheets to sleep on the nights while they're guests in our home. I don't need to know the medical or diagnostic information of my guests in order to accommodate their needs. While I do get that, I find that most people actually don't really like silk sheets. So I'm not sure if it was worth the investment.
yeah. No, I get it, but at the same time, most people would be like, I only like a certain bed sheet, so I'm gonna bring my own. It just seems like an
Yeah.
expense he didn't need to go through.
Well, it's going to get to the point where somebody goes, I only sleep on duck feather pillows. Can you
Yeah.
please buy some? And it's like, it's not a hotel. It's not an Airbnb. You're staying in
Yeah.
somebody's home. While there is things that they can accommodate for you, for example, like making dinner, okay, you're allergic to onions. We won't cook any onions while you're here. That's fine. But when
Yeah.
it's physical things, and silk bed sheets are expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, even the faux silk ones are at least like 40 quid a pop. And
Exactly.
I couldn't imagine spending that on myself. I'd have to proper gear myself up.
Yeah.
And then for him to do it and not tell his wife until, I'm guessing, by the sounds of it, he got home with new sheets.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, it's just a bit over the top. And like I feel like as well, some people who are on the spectrum would feel like they don't want people treating them differently or going out of their way like that. It's a grown man at the end of the day. He can make his own decisions about or any of it.
Yeah, I think also I saw a couple of comments on this particular Reddit post about why are you running around after this guy so much when he's only staying at your house temporarily, when he's
Yeah.
clearly competent enough to live in his own apartment by himself.
Yeah.
So why can't he do 2-3 days on bed sheets that aren't his personal preference?
Yeah.
And I guess I don't understand as well if he can live by himself and I'm guessing pay his own bills, why he couldn't have just purchased a hotel room
Yeah.
himself, and then he wouldn't have been on anybody's space. Because I know that I feel, even if I'm close to people, when I go around their house, I do feel like a guest, and I kind of feel like I have to maybe alter myself a little bit so that I don't feel like I'm putting them out, because, you know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want somebody encroaching in my space. You know, again, your home is kind of it's your safe space. You don't want somebody just suddenly all over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, I don't understand where he was coming from. He's obviously been voted the idiot, because I don't know where he was coming from with that.
No, no. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, we let's do that. Although I've just been logged out of my account. Okay, so this one is a bit of a longer one. I found this one while I was actually watching another Reddit video, because that's clearly an autistic fixation I have myself. Hence why I thought it was such a great idea that we do one. So this one is my 24 male, my husband, 28 male, have started living in a semi off-grid farm about a year and a half ago. One of the effects of that is that for some time we don't have any hot water running in our home. We usually just boil water, or we'll go to my uncle's house, our neighbour, and get some hot water for the tasks we need it for. We also usually divide chores and errands pretty evenly. He works during the day, so I take care of our farm critters, as well as taking care of any handyman needs, such as eventually setting up the water heater. One of the chores he agreed to do was the dishes, mostly because I have a bit of childhood trauma surrounding doing the dishes as well as cooking. Before we moved here, he did the dishes pretty regularly. He has ADHD and I'm on the spectrum, so we definitely fall behind a bit on chores, but generally they would get done within a week or two. But now that we've moved, that's become a lot less frequent, which I understand. However, he's got into the habit of only cleaning the dishes we need, which has led to a large pile of dishes being left by the sink for a very long time. Eventually, they started to smell so badly, he put them outside on the porch. I would ask him to do the dishes maybe once every couple of weeks, and he would say he would do them, but that was almost 4 months ago. I finally snapped today and started yelling about how he hadn't done his one chore in months, and if he had just asked me for help, I could have done them. But because of my trauma and his promise that he would be doing them, I hadn't stepped in. I finally did them all today, and nearly all of the metal silverware was rusty, including our mixer pieces. I pointed this out and said that I'd only been able to use the mixer once before it'd been left outside to rust, and his response was, "Waste of money, huh?" Well, now we've been fighting for hours, and he keeps saying that I have to stop talking about it so that he can calm down. He has not thanked me for doing the dishes, and he has not even admitted any sort of responsibility for ruining so many dishes. I do feel really bad for yelling at him, but I also feel like I was at my wit's end. It smelt so bad. I mean, 4 months doesn't feel a bit ridiculous to me.
Yeah,
And to the
I'd
fact
like
that it
to
smelled. Yeah, go on.
yeah, I'd like to know really what her trauma is with washing
Yeah, I
dishes.
mean, yeah, I also think, I mean, I don't want to gatekeep people's traumas or spectrums, but if you're saying in the end, if he had told me to do them, I would have just done them.
Yeah,
Why did you need to wait to be told, can you do them? Because I don't want to do them.
yeah,
When it gets to the point where you're taking all of your cutlery outside because it smells so bad, like, why would you even wash them at that point? There is no saving them at that point. You are never going to get that smell off.
no,
Surely.
that's just over the top. Like, they need to get like paper plates or something.
Yeah,
Not
I
very
mean,
eco-friendly.
it, I, I understand there's sensory issues. I totally get that. I mean, I don't really enjoy washing dishes either. But I think the longest I've left them there is when I've been in like a depressed slump and they've maybe been there for like 4 days. I think that's the longest I've gone. Because after that, they just get really gopping and you've got to deal with them.
Yeah.
And the fact that the partner was able to pick them up and take them outside as to not deal with them, was it really going to be that much more effort to just go and wash them? Because I get that they've said they have to get hot water. They either have to boil it or they have to go next door to get some hot water. But you don't specifically have to wash dishes with hot water. You could have done it with cold water. It would have been fine. Maybe not as hygienic, but I've done it on a campsite in desperation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it just
also
seems
find it
really extreme.
Yeah, I find it very interesting that I totally understand him saying, he keeps saying, I have to stop talking about it so he can calm down. I think at that point, it's an autism overwhelming moment of, you know, if somebody does keep going on about something to me, even if it's something really little and it's repetitive, it does get very overwhelming. But at the same time, this is an adult conversation. You can't really say we're not going to talk about this like ever again.
Yeah.
You know? They did do an edit because they clearly were having lots of comments that they weren't very happy with and said, because I think people are assuming things, we do all the housework together at the same time and usually play music or a documentary while we do. Who watches a documentary whilst cleaning? That's too much concentration, and considering one of them's got ADHD,
Yeah.
I don't understand how you do that. I'd be too busy watching the documentary. Music I get, because I can give like a full-on West End Broadway performance while I'm cleaning. That's fine. But when it's something I have to proper concentrate on, there's no way I can do both. The only chores we have labelled as one or the others is the dishes and the cat litters because he doesn't like doing them. He does the dishes usually because he offered to on his own without me asking before we moved out. He doesn't like doing the cat litters, but he does do the dishes. We both take turns on all of the other chores. We aren't leaning on our disabilities. Everyone has different limits and different ways of coping. The only reason why I didn't do the dishes months ago is because at any time I tried, he would take them and say things like, no, that's my chore, and I would feel bad. And as for my trauma and how I need to heal from it, kindly remember that none of you know why, when, or how severe this trauma is, or what I've been doing to heal. I have a therapist and I am working on it. I did the dishes today, which is a huge step for me. We both do a lot, and yes, it's stressful, but we are happy. This is one incident that I was just hoping to get some outside perspective on.
So, what have some of the commenters said on it?
So I didn't save any of the comments, but I do remember some of these. Some of these were mainly like, you know, he's being a bit of a child, not cleaning.
Yeah.
And then there was the other kind of extreme of, because this person has moved home, do they need to re-establish routines? Because I get it, when you do move, everything's kind of new and sometimes it can be quite easy to slip into a very monotonous routine of what it feels safe to you or what you can replicate from where you used to live.
It can be a massive shock, can't it? Like, it's almost like a shock to your system that you can almost just freeze and not really know what to do even for a few months.
It definitely. And I think as well, it's interesting that they're very, we have our own chores, but I do sometimes do the dishes, but this time around I didn't do the dishes because I'm so traumatized by it and because they didn't want me to do the dishes. And I find that's kind of quite a few different tones when it comes to this story. So I'm wondering if it's maybe they felt okay for a bit and then just suddenly it just got too much and they reacted extremely differently. And I mean, we have got to remember that one of these partners is on the ADHD side of things and one is on the autistic spectrum. So sometimes they can headbutt quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that they're probably both on the autistic spectrum.
100%. Because I'm sat there going, oh, this is a bit, you know, because I'm wondering as well if that childhood trauma is, if it is autistic related, is it just a mega heightened fear of, you know, feelings and, you know, touching things that you don't like? That can be pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, I know when I touch things that are either like really sticky or I don't like the texture, I can proper freeze up and start, like, you know, practically shaking, going, "Oh my god, that was disgusting! I don't want to ever touch
Yeah.
that again." You know, but yeah, I think that one's kind of a difficult one.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say whichever one, I can't remember which one it is that has just the ADHD diagnosis, maybe go and get re-diagnosed because you probably have both.
So the one who's supposedly doing the dishes is the one who had the ADHD, which
Oh,
I
okay.
would suggest, because I totally get ADHD. Sometimes you forget about something that you're supposed to do, and it can go on the back burner for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you're suddenly like, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot about that. But 4+ months of not washing dishes, and the fact that OP said their partner is washing dishes, but only the dishes they need. So they have done dishes being washed in 4 months. They just haven't done all of them. They've only done half of
Yeah.
them, or a select few. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go on to another story because obviously I've swapped them into kind of genres, categories. So I was wondering if we wanted to talk about how media represents autism.
Yeah.
So when we were discussing starting this show, we were talking about The Big Bang Theory
Yeah.
and Dr. Sheldon Cooper, because obviously, while I feel sometimes he is pretty accurate considering it is such a wide spectrum, other times I do kind of feel like somebody's written this character and they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like with Sheldon, they've definitely gone for your like stereotypical autism.
Mm,
And it's definitely the way that a lot of people perceive autism. And it doesn't really help when, you know, a lot of people who aren't that end of the scale are trying to get people to understand their autism. Then that's when you get the, or you don't look or you don't act autistic, because they straight away think of Sheldon or someone like that.
yeah. I mean, The Big Bang Theory has been on TV for a very long time. I mean, I think I saw clips of it before even I knew I was autistic. So I think
Hmm.
it's very hard going and getting a diagnosis and thinking, well, I don't behave like that. And that's
Yeah.
what media is showing I should be like, you know,
Yeah.
because I can't think of a TV show that I feel that has accurately represented me. Even supposed documentaries on Netflix and stuff about autistic people, I still like it is very targeted towards the more intense side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I feel sometimes they can be quite derogatory still,
Yeah.
of, oh, you've got high functioning autism, so, you know, it's not relevant to you. But when they're on these shows talking about this is what autism looks like, you are speaking for a whole community of people, but you're not speaking accurately, which means you are actually excluding some people of this community you're trying to represent.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's like when you see the shows like what was it? Dating on the Spectrum?
Oh, Love on the Spectrum,
Relationship
my
Love on the Spectrum.
one of my biggest enemies.
Yeah. And like I watched that and I was like, "Oh my god," because the way they portray people, and they've gone for people that have a lot more disabilities. Like they're not just on the autistic spectrum, they don't just have ADHD. And
Mm.
like they just pick out all the little bits that make us look weird.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I remember the first episode I watched. Um, they sent these two guys out on a date, and they sent them to a dinosaur museum. And that's fine if you're into dinosaurs. But this poor girl, her name was Maddie or something from Australia, and she's clearly not impressed that this guy she's on a date with is just going on and on about dinosaurs and types of dinosaur bones, and she is just not interested. So they
Yeah.
leave the date, and he's like, I had a really great time. When should we meet up again? And she's already like, she went, I don't know how to
Sorry.
say this.
Oh,
Now
no.
coming across as rude, sorry. Because she just wasn't interested. And I started watching this show because I thought maybe I'll get some advice from it.
Yeah.
Because obviously I still haven't gone on a date yet. So I was like, maybe I'll get a bit of advice, a bit of support, and I'll be more reassured that I'm not in a rush. I'm not trying to catch up with people. But instead I left just feeling more insulted.
Yeah.
And then you hear rumors of people going, well, I tried to apply for the show, but they said I wasn't autistic enough. And I'm like, what do you mean not autistic enough? What does that
Yeah.
mean? Do you have to pass a certain level where they're like, okay, yeah, you can be on the show?
Just why would they even think like that is acceptable though? Like surely if you're gonna really portray autism like correctly, then you need to have someone from every like from different parts of the spectrum, not like why would you do that? I
The
guess
fact
they
that
can
they
put
call it on
more
the spectrum and
entertaining.
there's no spectrum there is what gets on my nerves.
Yeah.
And I feel some of the people they've had on their show is very, very vulnerable people. And there are some scenes, even the first, I think I got maybe 2 episodes in and I couldn't watch anymore after that because I just felt so upset about it.
Yeah.
They were on a date and this one guy is clearly getting very overwhelmed, very stressed, wants to go home, and they just wouldn't let him leave, which
That's
just felt
awful.
terrible.
Yeah.
And the other person I think was picking up on his nerves and his stress. And he was saying to this person, if you want to leave, that's okay. You can leave. But he didn't feel comfortable enough himself to say, you know what, I'm gonna head out because I'm really not feeling safe or comfortable in this situation.
Yeah.
And yet again, it's giving people who aren't in the autistic community or on the spectrum a very inaccurate look into what life with autism is like. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that's really damaging, really, because you're going to have people who aren't on the spectrum who think, oh yeah, I now know loads about autistic people. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, and then you're gonna have a massive bunch of people who are gonna be like, well, if someone now told me on a date that they had autism, I'm not dating them.
Yeah.
Which isn't fair because you should always get to know someone first for who they individually are anyway, regardless of whatever their like label is. But a lot of people now they're gonna look at that and think, well, I'm not getting involved with that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think some people run away, kind of, even if it's just emotionally, when you say, hey, look, I've got autism, but I'd rather be open about it, because if you're going to run away, I'd rather you run away before I get not attached to you, but before I get more comfortable with you, because I'm going to be more upset if I'm ditched after that.
Yeah, but then you've got your ADHD people who are known to get attached very quickly.
There's nothing worse when you've got both and you're like, okay, I'm trying really hard, and I'm looking at a message going, don't get attached, don't be ridiculous, you're going to fall for this, you're going to go into this cycle yet again. And then I'm like, oh no, they've stopped talking to me. Oh, I'm really disappointed. Oh no, I caught feelings. How did that happen? There is nothing worse than that. Especially when your parents then go, why aren't you talking to blah 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 anymore? I don't know. You ask him. I have no clue. Alrighty, so we're almost coming to the end of our time. I think for our first solo run, we did quite well.
Yeah, I think so.
Neither of us are crying. Nobody's
No.
popped
And
off.
considering you're so ill as well, you've done really well.
Yeah, I will go and die quietly after this. Don't
Yeah.
worry.